Welcome and welcome back, everybody. Tia here, and in today's video, I'll be taking you through a very brief tutorial for the Railroad Ink Engineer expansion pack. This expansion pack does include 4 unique mini expansions, which are a single die each. Those are the special die, the separation die, the renovation die, and the construction die. Let's start off by taking a look at 2 of the mini expansions. We have our special die and our separation die. Both of these expansions are considered easy expansions and will maintain the full 7 rounds for the course of the game. The special die, as you can see, has all 4 sides of the cell marked in. These will actually just show the 6 different special routes that you can draw throughout the game and will help you make larger connections. The separation die also has all 4 sides of the cell marked in on each side. However, you can see that there will always be 1 point of separation on each of the die faces. When playing with either of these expansions, you are actually going to remove one of the 4 white base game dice. It can be any die of your choice, and you'll replace it with either the special or the separation die. You'll then proceed as normal, playing the full course of 7 rounds using normal placement rules. Let's say, for example, that I'm using the separation die. I have an example of this die face, which I've drawn here. You'll notice that this is different from the special die's 4-way highway intersection, where all of these are connected. Here, you can see that there's 1 point of separation between this T-shape and then the topmost highway. So looking here at these exits, they are not connected because even though it goes into this space, you can see that there's a clear point of separation between these 2 highway spaces. So that is one thing to keep in mind when using the separation die. Both of these dice will count as a route die, meaning any of the rules that apply to the white route dice will also apply to either the special die or the separation die, whichever one you happen to be playing with. Next up, we have our renovation die. This is considered a medium difficulty expansion and will allow you to play the full 7 rounds of the game. When playing with the renovation die, you'll add it to the 4 white base game dice and roll it at the beginning of each round. During each round, you will optionally be able to modify an existing route based on the patterns shown on this die. So for example, here we have a dotted line which represents a route that is already drawn on your board. So in this case, either a straight highway or a straight railroad. I can then use this die to modify it to create a railroad underpass. So for example, I might do that over here and draw it in. And again, whatever the dotted line is on there, it could be a road or a railroad, but it does have to be that exact shape. Another example of this would be a curved route. So here we have any curved route, whether it is a railroad or a highway. And then I can draw a railroad going in and out of the other 2 spaces. And remember, this is optional each round. You can use it on previously placed routes or any routes that you've drawn this round. One of the ones that is a little bit more tricky is this side here, which you can see indicates a T shape in the dotted lines. It also has a highway extending out of one of the sides and a square in the middle in the dotted lines. In order to draw this die face, you would have to have a 3-way intersection that contains a station. So for example, this 3-way intersection does fit within the dotted lines. However, it does not have a station, meaning that we would not be able to draw it in this cell. I could, however, modify this existing route since it has a station and 3 sides filled in. So I could draw my highway extending out of the left-hand side and modify it that way. The last expansion we'll take a look at today is our construction die. This is considered a medium difficulty expansion and will maintain the full 7 rounds of the game. When playing with this die, there are 3 different die faces that you may roll throughout the course of the game. It is optional as to whether or not you use the construction die from round to round. You'll roll them along with the 4 white base game dice at the beginning of each of the 7 rounds. So let's go over the different faces. The first one is a free placement, which is the square with a question mark, and it's shown on 2 sides of the die. This allows you to place one of the other route dice rolled this round in any square. That means that it does not have to connect to a pre-existing route. I could put this T-shaped road, for example, right here if I so chose. The only exception to that is that you cannot have railroads and highways touching one another. So I couldn't, for example, draw it down here per se, since we would have a railroad and a highway meeting without a station connecting them. The next die face we'll go over is the Destroy die face. This is the box with an X through it, and again, it's shown on 2 of the different sides of the die. This will allow you to erase any previously drawn route. So I could, for example, erase this one if I so chose to, or any of the other ones on my routes, even if that does mean that we'll have some floating pieces later on. The last die face you may see is the Move icon. This is indicated by a cell with 4 arrows in the 4 orthogonal directions. For this die, you can erase any previously drawn routes and move it to a new location. So for example, I could erase this straight railroad and put it down here, or over here. It's just important that when using the move face on the construction die, that you do follow all normal placement rules. One other thing with this die, since you will be erasing and moving routes, if you are playing with the Railroad Ink Challenge base game, which has different buildings, you can remove them from building spaces and then later on reactivate those buildings by drawing a new route in them. So there you have it. Those are the 4 single die mini expansions included in the Railroad Ink Engineer expansion pack. Let me know in the comments down below, which of these 4 dice do you think you'll use the most often? If you found this video helpful or enjoyable, please feel free to leave a like. You can also subscribe down below for more board game content. Thanks so much again for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye!